Our last on the agenda is 508, Monument and Memorial Properties. Senator Verdin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. S508 is one of those bills that profited from continued subcommittee work. And after two property tax subcommittee hearings and even the discussion that took place here in full committee, I believe that we're bringing an improved work product back before the committee. If you are, Mr. Chairman, let me ask Mr. Gibson, that committee amendment, subcommittee amendment, is that on the screen?
Jessica, can you put that?
Okay, let me just review for you as you look at the language. So if you think about the legislation from 27 years ago, was basically a bare bones policy statement. I mean, it was if you're looking at the language there, anything that's not if it's not underlined, if it's not stricken, if it's not highlighted, that's the entirety of the original legislation. Is the bill introduced, underlines and strikes. That's the original bill is introduced. The significant work that's taken place in the subcommittee trying to accommodate the various concerns you'll see highlighted, and it's really chronological. The first highlights that we've considered were what you see in yellow, blue, then green. Suffice it to say, if you look at what we're bringing forward with, take the yellow first. Consideration primarily on my part. I heard the concerns about punitive language as it relates to local government fund. I don't know that has ever been successfully implemented as it relates to trying to influence policy and within the subdivisions of government. You come on down, that's the first strikes in yellow there in subsection 2, or in section 2. We had considerable discussion here in full committee. If you look down at 6, the strikes that that we are offering as a subcommittee as it relates to the real estate, the properties. If you see the language in blue, section 6 as a replacement for the highlighted section in yellow, you can see we're trying to move towards a workable sale or transfer of property to in circumstances where it would be to a private entity. Examples were brought up at both full and subcommittee. As you can see in the language, effort to be made to relocate to a comparable piece of property. While we're down there at section 6, let's go on down to section 7 and 8, because this is also in response to considerations that came up relating to both infrastructure and roads. Actually, the infrastructure in section 7, also new buildings. We had the example from one of the senators talking about schools that not only are being relocated, but the old structures being divested. Section 7, new language to accommodate both new buildings and infrastructure. Section 8 is specifically related to transportation. We actually benefited from suggested language from the Department of Transportation as it relates to what they basically are doing now. This actually happens, and this is how the DOT internally has been addressing the policy. if you look at sections 3, 4, and 5, you can really see what is not addressed in the originating legislation. What we are characterizing as affinity organizations, being able to stand or advocate for monuments and memorials. As you can see, giving individuals, even corporate or other legal entities, the right to bring a civil action is really the heart and meat of the legislation, amplifying what was intent from 27 years ago, but now giving us a mechanism to actually give voice if and when there is an effort to have a different disposition of a monument or a memorial. We implement and utilize a process at the Department of Archives and History for the promulgation of regulations to identify and process the affinity organizations, which in the enabling legislation identify those entities as having the vested interest to maintain and preserve and look after these monuments and memorials. We generally have covered everything. I believe specifically we've covered everything as it relates to what would be characterized as a subcommittee recommendation. Again, I appreciate the work of the Property Tax Subcommittee, Mr. Chairman. I believe we have brought an improved work product back to the full committee. I'll be glad to entertain questions.
Lincoln, John.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to thank the senator from Lawrence and his subcommittee for their work on this important bill. I have a question. We have been contacted by a group of veterans who have brought to our attention that the United States Space Force is not listed on the list of branches of service on the state's Armed Services Monument on the State House Complex grounds. And if this bill became law, would we be able to amend that monument to add the United States Space Force to the list of armed services that have served our country on that Veterans Monument on State House property?
I believe a concurrent resolution through the General Assembly would
Even
certainly address
if this became law? Because it
Well,
says you can't alter or
Well, this is just Section A of the originating legislation. Section B, which we are not addressing in this amendment or this legislation, would continue to hold.
Oh, I'm looking at the amendment. So there's
Actually, Section B is just for the section. I'm not looking at it either. I'm just for memory remembering that the original legislation for 27 years. That's the language that gives the General Assembly the prerogative. Maintains the General Assembly's prerogative as it relates to any changes.
Well, and if I may, Mr. Chairman, another question.
And we've put numerous memorials on the grounds here in past 27 years. I know specifically relating to the fallen police officers. There's been monument erection on the grounds post 2000.
Yeah, but I'm talking about if you had to alter a monument. Like in the question I just had was, we will, if we add the Space Force, and I have a resolution that we're drafting. We intend to offer it soon to the body for consideration, because the Space Force is not recognized on that monument. I don't think it existed in 2005 when the General Assembly had Senator Corson chaired Joint Commission and then the General Assembly approved the construction of that monument on the State House property. The Space Force is now a recognized branch, and so we've been asked to amend that monument and add it to that, or add the Space Force to that monument on State House property. So I just want to make sure that there would be a mechanism for us to do something like that if this bill became law. The second question I have relates to, if y'all remember, the General Assembly, those of us that served together before in the last 4-year session, we had a joint, I think it was a joint resolution that authorized the Vietnam Veterans Memorial in Aiken to be moved from one location to the Aiken County Veterans Park, where it would be more prominent and it would be seen by more people. But we couldn't do it without a joint resolution of the General Assembly. I want to make sure that if that scenario arose again, that, I mean, the way this language reads, it allows for the temporary removal, but or temporary movement of a monument. But I want to make sure there's a way that we would be able to take action, future General Assemblies, to do something like that if it becomes necessary. I mean, is it your intent that your bill would not
I think
prohibit?
the General Assembly can do that now, and I would certainly not want to impede or impinge on what the General Assembly's prerogative is now. I would want to maintain that, and I don't think anything we're doing here changes that fact. As it relates to the, and I would love to even reiterate the General Assembly's prerogatives,
I mean, I'm
especially
supporting.
as it relates to the monument you're referring to here on State House
Yeah, I
grounds.
support you on what we're doing with this bill. I just want to make sure, and I want to be upfront, that there are scenarios that do arise where we've taken action in the past as a General Assembly, and I foresee that we will take action to address the Space Force not being on the state Veterans Monument in a near future. I just want to make sure that that this bill would not preclude us from doing so in the future.
And I certainly concur with you, and will work diligently with you to make sure that we don't go backwards in that regards.
Any other questions, comments? Ms. Bright Matthews.
Perhaps just a question to Mr. Verdin. Have you spoken with Senator Hutto? He'd expressed some concerns about some changes he wanted to this and wanted to know if you could carry this bill over. I know we're on the potential amendment, but.
Well, a good bit of this amendment would, I think, assuage the specific concerns he was raising, specifically regarding the school in his district. A lot of that, a lot of what we have done in sections
Was that the affinity language?
6 and 7, I think would go, I would be disappointed if it didn't address his concerns that he brought in full committee. And I appreciate the fact that we've worked it now 4 times, 2 in subcommittee and 2 in full. I would appreciate the committee giving me the opportunity to have a vote, and based on the outcome, would keep working.
Anyone else?
Mr. Chairman, I would ask for the adoption of the committee amendment.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, take it to a vote on it. Raise your right hand. Opposed? Raise your right hand.
Proxy.
Now,
Mr. Chairman, I'd ask that we make a favorable report to the Senate as amended.
discussion. Any
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner,
yes, I just want to say something before we vote.
you got the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and to Senator Verdin and the subcommittee, thank you for trying to make it better. I've decided to kind of hold my powder until we get to the floor. There's some things about this bill that still concerns me mightily, and there's some questions I think we have to address. I guess the number one question for us to consider, we can do that when we get to the floor, is why? Why this bill? Why now? The Heritage Act was passed in, what, 2000? As a matter of fact, you proudly tell me you were here because we passed the Heritage Act. You were in the balcony.
I was here while you were doing
Oh,
it.
yeah, you
Not
were-
necessarily because, but
I do remember you being here in the balcony, in the in the committee rooms. But that is just something that I will wait until we get to the floor. I guess we would have some interesting discussions on why now and what are the ramifications, because there are a lot of them. And you may have addressed the situation if hypothetically, if there's a school named after a war hero that's in an area that's a flood area now, and they want to move the school and maybe add the name of someone else to the name. What if it's the Robert E. Lee School, hypothetically, and they want to add Frederick Douglass to it and call it the Robert E. Lee Frederick Douglass School? Can that be done? There's some interesting scenarios that we will talk about on the floor. What if, and I wish he was here, that they wanted to change the Strong Thurman High School to the Shane Massey High School, okay, from Edgefield. Just one day someone may want to do that. Those would just be these are some things that I look forward to talking about when we get to the floor. Senator.
Mr. Chairman, I couldn't agree more with the senator from Richland. I think there's one thing we all appreciate, and that is honor to whom honor is due. And that's one of the many things that gives us commonality in this realm of recollection and reminiscence.
Senator, Mr. Chairman, I would just remind you of what a wise man once told me. What one generation honors, another generation may not feel like it is worthy of the same honor. And should every generation, everyone gets a chance to honor their own heroes, without disparagingly talking about some of the other ones of times past. And I'll just finally say, you and I know that we both are great students of history. I was raised by a historian and have been studying history since I had diapers on, I would guess. And so I think it's just important for us to understand history in its context and exactly what we're doing when we do something like this. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, take to a vote. All in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, right hand. That's what we got it here. Thank you. Favorable report. That completes our agenda. Appreciate your attendance and your participation. Very worthwhile. We'll stand adjourned.